other words, you literally have no moral epistemology. It's just garbage.
Why do you say that?
Based off my past interactions with you.
Yeah, and what's that?
Well, you're basically saying, Tomer, that whatever it is that you feel or you like is your morality, right? That's your position.
Yeah, is there something...
Preferences, though.
Yeah, is there something that's inconsistent with that?
What do you mean?
What's wrong with that?
It is wrong. It is wrong for you to claim that that is morality. That is your preference. That's just your preference, because morality is the set of codes that people are going to judge you upon. Now, it entails, your engagement with the world.
And that would be them using the same exact...
It is not just your preferences. I mean,
that would be them using the same exact principle. They would just be using their preferences.
Yeah, but you're misunderstanding.
And the society would be using their collective preferences to judge.
Yeah,
so
I understand, but that is a misunderstanding. You see, you have a great ability to misunderstand, Tom. But I'm sorry, man. I mean, you hear the word, principles that is subjective. This is subjective as well, so it is as valid. No, that is not the case, dude.
Yeah, that one time GHC was in here, I pointed out that David Hume, he actually, whenever he created the is-ought, he was trolling. And because GHC is a huge David Hume fan, and I brought that up in the room for everyone to understand, because people like Tom, people like Josh, they use the is-ought in a very serious fashion, which divorces pragmatism whenever we're talking about morality. So in other words, it's not useful whenever we're talking about morality, and David Hume understood this, right? So in other words, people are using David Hume's philosophy in a way that he wouldn't have wanted them to.
Exactly, Tomer. So let me exemplify why you're wrong. So you say, hey, man, my morality is, that masturbating to dead girls is fine. That is your morality. You can claim that, yeah, for sure. But unfortunately, Tomer, people are going to judge you according to their morale, right? To their set of morals and the predominant values shared among,
yeah, and they would be judging me.
It is irrelevant for you to say, "Oh, this is my morality." It is
they
ridiculous.
Would be judging me on their preferences. That's correct, Tasteless. I agree.
No, it is among the values that are shared, among them. So
right, and those would be preferences of this society. That's right. Thank you very much. Good job.
Yeah. But you cannot claim that is your morality, man. Morality entails, the values of others, not yours. Yours is the set of preferences. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
Yeah. So you asked me what I think morality is, and I told you, and you agree with me.
I would disagree with that, Tasteless. I would disagree with that wholeheartedly.
What do you mean?
I think morality is individual, and it is what we use to how we treat the people around us. I think that
exactly
what you are speaking about with Toma is ethics, not morality.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, him saying that his preferences are his morality is wrong.
Whenever they say it's just preferences, they're not actually engaging. Like Sam Harris, all these people, they're just trying to say something like morality is subjective, which even the realists, people who consider themselves moral realists, acknowledge that we can't even contemplate well-being without pragmatism, right? Without they acknowledge that it's subjective, right? But whenever, like Steven Pinker pointed out, that whenever we're engaged in an argument, right? Whenever we're trying to persuade one another, right, with ideas, that we're committed to reason. And whenever we correlate, because a lot of these people, the issue they have is that whenever we talk about morality, they go full retard and they don't define morality. They can't. But it's really clear to people who want to be honest that whenever we moralize, we're talking about well-being, right? So we correlate well-being to morality. So with that being said, of course, we're operating in pragmatism in the sense that we're dealing with a certain set of desires and tendencies. But like Steven Pinker said, whenever we're trying to persuade, let's say, for example, some small child's about to be raped, and me and you are going to argue about why that's wrong. We are committed to reason in the sense that I'm trying to persuade you with reasons, and we would obviously be talking about the well-being of that small child. So, like I said, people like Tom are at their infancy in terms of their moral epistemology. They just haven't really built anything up yet. They're just stuck on preferences and relativism.
I mean, how is my view internally inconsistent? Headshot.
It doesn't matter if it is not inconsistent, Homer. It is what happens when you, let's say, exercise your idea into the world. That it is just shit. It is not in virtue of your justification. Your justification can be fine, but the reality is that applying it just doesn't work.
What does
Yeah, for example, Tasteless, just imagine if Tom was in that conversation about the baby that I gave. He would literally just be saying, listen, man, I prefer you not to rape that child. He'd be garbage in that conversation. He wouldn't actually be able to put up a good argument or persuade anybody why it's wrong for that baby's well-being.
He will say, yeah, to me, it's good to rape the baby. I mean, argue.
Well,
with it, right?
I can just say why I don't prefer it, right? That's basically be the same reasons that.
But if you preferred it, I mean, we wouldn't be able to find inconsistencies there. So therefore, it must be right, right?
I don't think there is. That's the whole thing. I don't think there is a right or wrong with morals.
Yeah, this is absurd. And you know, the fact of the matter is that there is, especially when you're talking about, you know, the morality. We know you think there are preferences, and yes, of course, to a certain extent they are, because we rather have the better outcome of our interactions, and this is why we follow certain, you know, values with imposed.
Let me just ask
society.
you both this question, and I just want a simple answer, please. If you actually want to have a productive conversation, is there something internally inconsistent about my view?
Internally inconsistent whenever you misunderstand the terms? No, I wouldn't say that there is.
I can't misunderstand my own definitions and my own terms.
Well,
that would be part of,
so you're basically saying I have a
that was-
self-validating model. Is it incorrect? And I would say no.
No,
but it
that's
is
not what
irrelevant.
that means.
Yes,
in other
it was
words,
means.
can you perform an internal critique of my view and find a contradiction or something
Well,
that's untenable?
if I tell you that my model
if you are
is,
going to
hey,
perform an internal
I
critique
work
of my,
under the axiom that I'm always correct.
If you were going to perform an internal critique of my view, right, that would entail that you had to use my definitions.
Yes, listen. I am showing you and I am telling you exactly where the problem lies. You are trying to imagine that your conclusion is going to be wrong in virtue of it having a contradiction, right? And I am saying, no, Tom.
No, we can get.
It is not the case.
Talk about that. We can talk about that.
You can say that there's no contradiction there. Listen, my friend.
No, we can talk about that later.
We can talk about
the implementation of these morals in the real world.
No. It is not wrong in virtue. No. Let me fucking finish. You ask me a question, I'm about to fucking answer it. If you cannot be a productive interlocutor, man, there is no reason for me to engage with you.
Dude, stop that shit. Jesus fucking Christ, stop.
Grow up somewhere.
Yeah, so Tasteless. We can talk about that later, but first of all, I just asked you a question, just a la carte. If you're going to do an internal critique of my view, is there something wrong with it?
Yeah, there's something wrong with it.
What's wrong with it?
The implementation.
Okay, now Tasteless is saying that there is something wrong. He's doing an internal
Yeah. The implementation of it. Yes. The implementation of it. Yes.
What do you mean by that?
That's not an objection to the question that he's asking, Tasteless. The better response to
that is not an objection. It is not an objection.
But I think what Tasteless means is that like people like Tom and people like Michael, the way they implement these views is definitely fallacious, right? Because they'll go with, like, for example, they'll go into the vegan server and completely divorce pragmatism and deploy relativism like fucking idiots.
So
listen, man.
I think,
hold
on,
Kathleen,
if you don't mind,
go ahead.
If you don't mind, just real quick, because I think the better thing to ask would be: is something that is internally consistent necessarily justified?
No,
because
no,
anyone,
anyone.
Hold on, Tasteless. Listen, anyone can be internally consistent in their own views.
Of course, self-validating models.
Right?
Yes.
But the question is not to ask whether or not that you can invalidate the view internally and show inconsistency. It is to ask whether or not that internal view is justified by an external force.
Oh yeah, of course. This is what I'm talking about.
Well, he's going to do an internal critique, though, right?
Listen. The internal critique, yes, the internal critique is granting all of his, axioms and all of his logic. Yes, I could grant that. The problem is that it is not in virtue of it having no, inconsistencies or whatnot.
Yeah, but you said there was an inconsistency. You said,
I didn't say that. I said there was something wrong.
And I'm going to play it back for you right now. I'll play it back for you right now.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, play it.
Back.
Now,
I'm going to mute. I'm going to play it back for you right now.
Yeah, go ahead. And hey, I'm going to, say what I said. He said, is there something wrong with my view? And I said, yeah, there's something wrong with your view. Now, he assumed that I was referring to an inconsistency there. But the reality is that the problem is not with the consistency of it, but with the implementation of it. So let me give you an example. If I create a self-validating model to say, look, I start with the axiom that I'm always correct, so therefore I am correct. And there is no inconsistency there. Oh, but that's right? That's fine. So I'm correct, right? You cannot find any inconsistencies in my model. No, you have to show internal contradiction. Well, yeah, there's no contradiction there. However, if you go around the world using your model to show how you're correct, it's going to fail miserably. Because you're the first action.
Fails.
No, listen.
Necessarily.
Oh, it will. If it's wrong, it will fail. Now, if it fails, right? It's not going to fail. I'm sorry.
When you say it's going to fail, right, and when it's wrong, like that doesn't necessarily follow.
What do you mean?
Because just because it's internal and a large group of people feel that is wrong does not mean that Tama is wrong.
No, you're not getting my point. So whenever I try to impose this self-validating model,
ready, boys?
Go ahead.
Here you go.
And can cut the assignment. The other clue they looked for was shoe prints.
If you're going to do an internal critique of my view, is there something wrong with it?
Oh yeah, there's something wrong with it.
Okay, do you hear that, Tasteless?
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Okay, so there you go. I win.
Holy fucking shit! Did I said that this was coming?
I didn't hear him say that your worldview was inconsistent in that.
You're
you played it again.
Correct, bro. Absolutely fucking correct. You want me to play you the part? No, hold on a sec. I can make this even better.
Was I right or was?
Do you want to double down? I can play now. Now you can. No, Tasteless, this is great. You can deny that you denied it, right? And then I also have the part where you denied it, right? So do you want to deny that? I'll play that for you.
You can see how that I was correct, right? I mean, he was going to misunderstand what I was saying, and he was going to say that, assume that I was talking about an inconsistency there, right? But that wasn't the case, right? This is Tamer, dishonesty being exhibited right now.
Yeah, I didn't hear Tasteless say inconsistent in that recording. Can you play it again? Maybe I missed it.
No. I said that. The question was, I asked that question. Now, if he said yes to the question and he's just an idiot, well, then that's his problem.
What was your question, man?
Yeah, but
I'll play it for you again.
Yeah, play it. What was the question?
Didn't
play
you
it for you
say that?
again.
I can tell you what was the question. The question is there something wrong with it?
Shut up.
And I said, yeah. Holy shit.
About that later, but first of all, I just asked you a question, just a la carte. If you're going to do an internal critique of my view, is there something wrong with it?
Oh yeah, there's something wrong with it.
What's wrong with it?
The implementation.
And now Tasteless is saying that there is something wrong. He's doing an internal critique.
Yeah.
My
The
view
implementation of it. Yes. The implementation of it. Yes. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see any contradiction in that recording. I'm sorry, Tom. I think you're wrong on this one.
Well, he said he didn't look. He said that there was something that was wrong in my internal critique. In his internal.
You assumed that I said that there's an inconsistency, right?
Inconsistency.
When I specifically said
said
that it was the implementation part, not the inconsistency.
If you're doing an internal critique and you find something wrong, that means you're finding a contradiction.
That's correct.
That's false.
The internal critique is
especially when I specifically said that the part that was wrong was the implementation.
So either we're running into the tasteless doublespeak, or we're running into what Tom said, where he's just an idiot.
Well, Tomer just wants to understand. This is Tomer, right? In his brain, he thought that I meant that there was an inconsistency there. That's his mind. That's his assumption. This is how stupid he is. This is how dumb he is. That he misunderstands every fucking claim I make in the worst possible way, and he understands whatever the fuck he wants to understand. So this is why I always,
in the process of an internal critique, that means that you are finding a contradiction.
That is false. Now,
that is true.
No, this is what happens with Tomer since the get-go, and he misrepresenting my views constantly, strawmanning my position like a motherfucker, because he's unable to understand what is being said.
He's so mad now.
So,
well, this is the reality.
Wait a second. I think Tasteless, and I'm not like white knighting, right? But I think that Tasteless said what was wrong with his view was not that it was inconsistent. He said that it was the implementation of his view that was wrong. In which case,
if that's what you're claiming there, then you're basically claiming that Tasteless is an idiot, because he said there was a problem with his internal critique. There was a problem with his worldview within an internal critique, which means that there is a contradiction. If he said that and didn't mean there's a contradiction, that means he's a moron.
Yeah, and then he should have said, no, there isn't, but there's a problem with the implementation.
No, that's wrong. You said, do you find something wrong with that? And I said, yeah, there's something wrong with that. The implementation.
And that means that
and you said, no, you referred to that you specifically said that there was an inconsistency. And now you tell me why. I didn't say that. I never said that. You say, I'm going to play it back. Now I'm going to demonstrate it. And you didn't. So I'm sorry, man. You failed miserably.
I absolutely did.
This is your problem. You're delusional. That's the problem. The real problem is that you're delusional, and there is no point of me talking to you.
Do you know what an internal critique is, Tasteless?
Yes, I know.
Do you know what the culture of critique is? Based on what
you
were saying earlier.
Oh, I know. I taught you. I taught you what the fuck was an internal critique. Because you were trying to make an external critique whenever you were talking about that document. And it was my point that you would have to show an internal contradiction within their own worldview.
Provided a brief preface of what an internal critique is.
Yeah, basically you are to grant and to accept and to take into consideration the basic set of assumptions of a particular worldview for you to find an inconsistency within its own values. You are not to use external values to make that critique. It is like saying you're not granting the set of axioms of that worldview. So in order for you to demonstrate, rationally that, a worldview is incorrect, according to your standards of rationality, you would have to show that there is a contradiction in there. However, it is my position as an empiricist that in order for you to demonstrate whether a worldview is correct or incorrect, it is not in virtue of its justification or its axioms, it is in virtue of its response in reality. So if reality responds accordingly to your own worldview, then it is correct according to my view. And this is, my friend, what I was referring whenever I said that was what I was seeing wrong in Tomer's worldview. So I can grant that there is no contradiction, and I can grant I am not done, motherfucker. So I can grant all those things. However, the problem I see is with the implementation of a worldview, and that's it.
So right there, when you said, but when you apply my view to it, that is when you exit an internal critique.
No, that is false, because I am not critiquing the justification part of his worldview. I am critiquing that once you insert that worldview into the real world, you will get a result. Now, if the result is false...
Ben's making a really good point. You're doing an internal critique externally.
False. You're misunderstanding again.
No.
But then again, I mean, Ban, I wouldn't expect much from Ban, and from you either, Tomer. You're not going to accept that you're wrong, and Ban is going to defend and kiss your ass for as long as needed, because he hates my
guts.
guts.
That's one of the things I don't do. Me and Tom actually kind of bicker with each other.
Yes, it's true.
You are committing a mistake. So whenever I said, hey, you asked me, I annoy him at times. Listen, hey man, is there a contradiction within my worldview? And I say, it doesn't need to be a contradiction. Okay, so the implementation part of your worldview is going to exhibit some results in real life. And that is going to determine, listen, that is going to determine whether your worldview is correct or incorrect. I'm sorry, man.
You're doing an external critique.
No. Internal critique. I am not trying to show that you're wrong in virtue of your justification, Tomer. This is what you're not getting.
It's not even what we're talking about.
This is what you're not getting, dude. So for you to say, I am right in virtue of it being justified, I can create a self-validating model and just say, well, you're correct. But that is
when you do that thing, the part where you say, now we're going to apply it to the real world, you ought to still be using my model, right?
Doesn't matter.
You're not.
We're using your model. No, mother. Oh, shit. Okay, Tomer. So the idea is the following, right?
Where's Helena?
I am going to let's grant that your morality is your preferences, and I'm granting that. I'm not changing that.
I think everyone.
Whoa. Yeah, you think that? That's fine. So you are going to go in the world and apply your morality, right? What's going to be the result of your morality? The result of your morality is going to render, irrelevant. Why? Because you are going to be judged according to other values, not yours, but according to other values.
Why does that matter?
What do you mean? What does that matter?
We're talking about my morality. We're talking about my morality.
Of course not.
My
it is useless. You're saying I am right in virtue. Hey, you're saying I am right in virtue that it is my preference. This is my morality. That's fine. You can claim that, but you're going to be judged according to other worldviews. So your worldview is now being executed into the real world, and it is providing some results. So the results are that no matter if you think you're correct, you're going to be judged as incorrect, right? And this is why your consideration of morality in your worldview is fucking useless. So it is not in virtue of its justification. It is in virtue of the results in reality.
You're just making an appeal to consequences. It's fallacious.
I'm not making an appeal to consequences. What the fuck are you
talking about, Tasteless?
What the fuck are you saying? What's an appeal to consequences, man?
You're saying that, if we use your method, other people aren't going to like it or they're going to judge you or something. So therefore, it's like bullshit. But consequences.
You're so wrong, dude. So an appeal to consequences, right, is to saying, hey, since the outcome is not good for some, then therefore it is incorrect. Whoa, my friend. In this case, your morality has a goal. Now, if the goal is for you to act accordingly if your morality serves for you to thrive in society, then it is useless. It is useless in virtue of its own fucking goal. Because you thinking that you're doing things good is, man, don't fucking interrupt it. Don't fucking be annoying.
I'm sorry, but you were actually incorrect.
I am sorry. I am not engaging with you, Ben. That's first of all. Second of all, please don't overtalk me.
Having your shit pounded into you.
Please, Ben, don't overtalk, man. It is very annoying.
Now I'm talking with you, so I imagine we're gonna play with.
Yeah, but I'm not talking to you, man. If you want to have a conversation with me, you should. You should start one. Listen, Ben, you are not to get into a fucking wagon for you to insert your shit there. If you want to have a conversation or a discussion with me, I would be glad to do that whenever it's convenient. But right now, you're just, helping Tomer, evade this fucking topic, dude. So it is. I don't think it's fair for you to jump and try to white knight for Tomer, and Tomer letting you, get away with this. So I would appreciate it if you didn't do that, man.
I don't care what you appreciate.
Well, then I am not to engage you, man. You are much too dishonest. Yeah, like I said, man, I am not even listening to what you're saying right now.
Because you were factually incorrect about an appeal to consequence.
Oh, okay. So what is it? Tell me.
This can't be right because the consequence is bad. That's a fallacious appeal to consequence.
What did I say? What do you say that? What would you say that I was wrong?
It's bad if it's bad for some people.
No, man, you're making a mistake. Listen.
No.
If let's say no, dude, listen. Whenever you're saying, hey man, the objective of me doing this is to have an outcome. That outcome is reached. Yeah, that's correct. But you say no, but it is wrong. Why? Because it is bad for some. No, that's fallacious. That doesn't have anything to do with it. However, when the result in this particular instance that you're talking about morality, it wants a purpose, it serves a purpose, and if the purpose is not met, then it is incorrect. No matter how you try, I mean, how you see it, it is incorrect.
Can someone translate that?
It is not an appeal to consequences. Everything has a consequences. So it's like you saying, hey man, the intention is for me to pour drink into this water, into this glass. I'm sorry, water into this glass, and you missed. Oh no, that's wrong. That's appeal to consequences. Hey man, but that was the fucking objective. No, that's an appeal to consequences. You're appealing to consequences. That is so fucking autistic, and you're misunderstanding what appeal to consequences is.
No.
Jason, stop being
I don't even know what you just said. Can someone translate?
I think he's saying that morality has a purpose. Tasteless, that presupposes that there's some mind to have made some purpose in morality. So are you trying to argue for God?
No, you're wrong.
Because that's the only way you can make that statement.
No, let's ask Tomer. Ask Tomer that he is the one with this morality. Tomer, what is the goal of having this set of values, Tomer? Tomer?
The goal of
Sorry, what?
What is the goal of having these moral values according to you?
What's the goal of having preferences?
What's the goal of having this moral, what you call morality, that you
preferences?
are creating? Yeah, what's the goal of that?
I don't know. I'm sure there is a goal.
Do you see how absurd this is? I mean, is this answer of Tomer valid? Is it not retarded?
I think generally it's understood that preferences aren't really reducible, right?
Okay, so there's no purpose in calling that morality. There's no purpose to morality. You're holding these values for nothing. Yeah, whatever you want to call them. You're the one calling them
keep
morality.
Saying however you want to call them, and then I say preferences.
Yes.
And then you say morality.
But you specifically, okay, you said that your morality is your preferences, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying that this is the case for everyone. Okay, so what's the goal of your morality? These values that you hold, what's the goal of them?
I mean, I don't think preferences are reducible to some sort of goal.
That is irrelevant.
I mean, like, no, it's not irrelevant. That's what you're asking me, Tasteless.
What do you mean? What do you mean they are irreducible? What do you mean?
Yeah, like when I say I like chocolate ice cream, and you say, "What's the goal of that?" It's not really a goal. I mean, I like chocolate ice cream.
Whoa! Those are preferences, but you call your morality preferences. Some of your preferences are part of your moral code, according to you. Yes.
I mean,
or what's the reason to call them morality? I don't understand.
Some of your preferences are part of your preferences. Yes. Now, let me remind you. I think that morality is preferences.
Yeah, I know. That you can claim that morality are preferences, but you're saying no, morality doesn't exist. It just exists. Preferences exist. This is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So morality doesn't exist. So why the fuck did you invoke the concept? Whoa! Why did you fucking invoke the concept of morality then?
I don't understand. I thought that's what we were talking about.
Whoa! You invoked the concept of morality, and then you're saying, listen, you are basically saying the following, right? So let's say there is a chair, right? The chair is formed by different pieces, of course, yes. All together, they form a chair. But whenever I ask you what's the objective of the chair, you say, no, the chair are parts. I mean, the parts. Yeah, I know it's formed by parts, but you're invoking chair. No, I'm not. I mean, the chair is the parts. The parts doesn't have any fucking objective. Yeah, but you are using them, to a certain cause. No, I'm not. Oh, so you basically have a lot of fucking parts there with no reason to it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it is exactly what you're doing, and you're being dishonest. Because if you know you will fuck yourself in the ass whenever you say, yeah, the intention of a chair is to sit on it, right? And yeah, it's formed by parts. Yes, of course. Yeah, chair is nothing but parts. Yeah, I agree. However,
people design chairs with an intention in mind. That's what gives them their fucking.
That's what we're referring to. Whenever we're talking about morality, there is an intention there. But for you to say it is true, yes, it is true that according to Tomer, that morality is just formed by preferences. But these preferences, listen, these preferences serve a purpose, and knowing in this concept of morality serves a purpose. The purpose is morality.
Listen, that's actually really interesting you said that, because Tom uses morality as synonymous with preference. So you just said Tom uses preferences to form his preferences.
Yeah, the only problem here is that he is denying to confront the idea that these parts that he takes to be a chair, even though they're not, armed or whatever, he just chooses to see them as fucking parts. Because right now, the only reason why he does that is to not confront the argument at hand. So he will claim and he will retract and say, listen, the parts are just parts. But then why the fuck would you call them chair? No, but chair is parts. Yeah, I know they're from the parts.
Actually pointed out.
No, dude. This is how design is. Okay, so let me get this straight. Let's grant that. Okay. Let's grant. No. That's fine. I'm gonna grant that.
Take a breath.
I'm gonna grant that. I'm gonna grant that.
Take a breath.
So according to Tomer,
will you please?
There is no concept as morality.
5 fucking seconds of silence from you.
Why do you have to keep interrupting me, man?
You made it 3.5. I knew you couldn't do it.
What the fuck, man? I mean, are you going to talk or you just want me to shut up?
No, I want you to shut the fuck up for 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you. Now we know you have a chance of doing it. Please do so in the future.
Holy fucking shit, dude.
I think
you interrupted me.
I think what Tasteless is trying to say is something like, well, a lot of these morals that you think are just preferences have sort of like implicit goals, like, Tom, why don't you rape that girl? And then Tom says something like, well, I have this goal where I don't want to see her get hurt, and I don't want to go to jail, and I don't want to be, socially like stigmatized or something like that. Is that what you're trying to say?
Tomer, at this point, dude, I'm not even gonna get mad at you. I just think you're so unable to understand what I'm saying. And in your mind, either it is that you're highly defensive and you won't acknowledge what I'm saying, and your brain tries desperately to misunderstand, the claim being made, that it is just, it is sad and absurd.
You're confused about the conditions under which purpose could exist, right? So do you think?
Yeah, but what he, the way he portrayed it, it is just a misrepresentation.
Do you think that a chair could have a purpose independent of minds?
That's a different claim.
No, it's the same.
That would be a red herring.
No, it's not really, because you're saying that morality has to have a purpose, right? But how could that have a purpose unless there's a mind before that gives it a purpose, i.e. God, right? So you can't say that morality has a purpose unless you're going to preach on God.
Listen.
That you can't.
Listen.
In the same way that you can't say that a chair has a purpose without a mind to give it a purpose. You can't say that morality has a purpose without a mind to give it a purpose. It's the exact same thing.
Listen, man. This concept of morality, it has a purpose. And the purpose of having a morality is having a set of guideline and a set of rules to drive yourself or to guide yourself to how to act in a society, for everything to be cool, right? Now, when you're saying, hey, my moral code, all you're referring to is the set of values you're holding to thrive in life and to act in society. Now, that is the goal. That is what morality refers to. But Tomer is just he just wants to avoid that and say, no goal, no pieces, just fucking preferences. Okay, Tomer, okay. So basically the concept of morality doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist, just preferences. Okay, so basically having preferences is just like a result. So why the fuck would you call that morality?
It actually doesn't.
There is no reason to.
I actually don't think that. I actually don't think that what you're describing is. I think that's in. It's in accord with my view.
I don't think you understand what a reduction in preferences actually means at all.
Yeah, well, so the idea, dude, is let's grant
what you're describing.
That this is what.
No,
that's fine. Let's go with that.
What you're describing is simply the collective preferences of a society.
No, I understand, but you're misrepresenting and misunderstanding what that entails, what that means, right? So you're it's like an artist, right? Whenever you say hello, right? But there is a tone to it. Whenever you say hello, and you're trying to flirt, and the artist will say, no, he just wanted to say hello. He was just greeting. No, he was flirting. No. He said hello. That's fine. You can do that, man. But you have to understand that you are misrepresenting, and you're misrepresenting, and you're avoiding to take into consideration other factors that actually give sense and meaning to that fucking, greet. So you can do that. Now, let's do that, Tomer. I'm going to grant that. And let's explore the implications of what you're saying, shall we?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you're saying basically, dude, that there is no concept of morality, right? Morality doesn't exist. It is name for preferences. So whenever you're talking about preferences, no matter what it is, you can say you're talking about morality, right?
Not in all cases.
Why not? Why not? Why not? What makes it different?
Well, most people don't think of like, chocolate.
Why not? Why not? If it's preferences, why not?
Well, I mean, you could, but I'm just saying that usually how people use it.
No, I'm asking you how you use it, right? I'm not talking about other people. We're talking about your worldview. Now, whenever you're saying, it's moral to have ice cream, right? To according to you, because it is a preference, it's morality. So it's moral to have ice cream.
No, that's not what that means, man.
Corey, shut the fuck up.
No,
this is Tomer's worldview.
Shit, constantly. It's just fucking annoying. Like you just.
Oh, is it not fair, Tomer? What I'm asking you, is it not fair?
Your Koi is right. Okay, so I said that morality is actually reducible to preferences.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that preferences are like reduced to morality.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that all preferences are moral.
Okay,
right?
Okay, that's fine. What makes a preference, a part of a moral code? According to you.
Start with moral.
Shut the fuck up, Corey. I'm not asking you. Let Tomer fucking handle this.
I'm explaining this to you.
Tomer. No, Corey. I need Tomer to explain his worldview to me, not you.
Why won't you expect?
You have Tomer's worldview.
Why won't you accept an explanation?
Is your name Tomer?
What's the difference?
Is your name Tomer?
Why won't you accept an explanation for me? I don't understand.
Because it is his worldview, you stupid motherfucker.
I can say the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so I'd rather go with the source, right? So, Koi, shut the fuck up. Now, please, Tomer, explain. So you were saying that there's a difference, right? Every let's say, every preference on morality. No, every value of morality is preferences, but not all preferences are morality, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So what is the distinction there?
Yeah, well, if you wanted to talk, if you were going to use the word immoral or something, it's going to be about, you're going to basically be making you're going to be stating an attitude, a mental state towards like an action and to another person in which you think that that's mean.
You think that what? No. Don't tell me about me. Talk about you. You're talking about your worldview.
No, it's me.
You're talking about we're making an internal critique. So explain to me your set of understandings about these things, your set of assumptions for me to understand. So you were saying that preferences is just preferences. Morality doesn't exist. I mean, and preferences is just preferences. I mean, morality doesn't exist. Fine. So you are saying now that there are a set of preferences that should be called morality. I mean, not all preferences are part of morality. So you need to explain to me what is the difference, what is the distinction, in your worldview. Don't tell me you would say, people would say, tell me what you would say.
You're saying,
Koi, shut the fuck up.
I already told you.
No, you didn't.
So think about like some moral action, like stealing is wrong.
Hey, Tomer, are you going to answer me or not?
I didn't.
No, you didn't.
Look, he's
what
tired
is the difference?
He's tired of you. Let someone else answer you. Let someone else answer you.
The meaningful way that no, why would you be talking about Tomer's worldview?
Why do you think that I couldn't answer in a similar manner? Why do you think that's impossible?
It is his worldview, dude.
It's an understandable worldview conceptually.
Why would you be white knighting for Tomer, dude?
If people understand what he's trying to say, anyone else can explain it. I don't know why you'd only accept it from him.
He was saying, listen, Koi, he was the one saying.
No reason to only
shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. He was the one saying that you cannot make claim, listen, that morality, he just equated them with preferences.
No, he did not
basically, they are interchangeable. Listen.
No, that's not what he said.
That's what he said. That he was basically saying. So morality, whenever you're talking about morality, you're talking about preferences. Okay, great. I want to know the meaningful distinction between, having a chocolate, ice cream chocolate, and, the other set of preferences that he would call morality. Because he says that those are different. Now, I want to know, and I want Tomer to tell me. I don't want you to tell me. I want Tomer to tell me where's the distinction. Stop buying fucking time for him. Your fucking ass.
How about this? How about I state it, and Tomer can sign off on it if he agrees or not. How about that? Wouldn't that work? So check it out, right? So how about every time we make moral statements, right? What Tomer is saying that those are reducible to preferences, which means that they're just preferences. It's not saying.
Really? I didn't know that.
Okay, you didn't let me finish, right? It's
I
not
know
saying
what he's saying, you idiot.
It's not saying that every time we state preferences that we're stating.
I know, Koi. He's making distinctions, right? He's making distinctions. And I'm asking about those distinctions. No, but let me tell you what he's saying. I know what he's saying, you stupid idiot.
Why are you getting hysterical? Why don't you just understand what I'm saying?
Because I want him, or I want you. Now, I'm going to let Tomer, go because he's fucking...
It's getting recorded, right?
Okay, so it's you, my friend. You need to tell me what is the distinction, between these preferences and why is that distinction there. Go ahead. Koi.
What?
Well, you need to tell me which component makes those preferences different in order for them to qualify them as part of a moral code.
They don't have to be different. All you have to say is that when you make moral statements that all they are preferences, it's not saying that when you make any preferential statements that they're also morals, right?
Perhaps you didn't understand the question. Here, let me ask it again. So you have preferences, a set of preferences, and you have different preferences, right? And one of those preferences would be, hey, man, what should I wear today? What should I eat today? I prefer, the color blue or whatnot. This is our preferences, right? And you're saying, yeah, man, but those are not fucking morality, man. And I say, yeah, I understand. I mean, he's making a claim that some preferences are part, or they can qualify as being part of his morality. Now, I am asking, what is the property that makes the distinction for you to know?
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you, man? All he's saying is that when you make moral statements, all they are preferences, right? That's it. So it's not saying the opposite direction that when you make preferential statements about
the preferences.
Moral statements being the specific preferences being what do you say?
What do you mean by morals?
When you say things like murder is wrong, what you're expressing is a preference for people not to murder, right?
But what's the property there? I mean, it is a preference.
I don't know why
it is a preference.
You seem to not understand what.
listen. It is a preference, right? And he just wants to say that it basically, refers to preferences. That's fine. But what qualifies, according to him,
Tasteless is cock apart.
According to him,
is that a moral preference?
What? You should ask Tomer. Now, when we're talking, dude, he's making distinctions, and this is what exactly where I want to get. I want him to describe what properties has these preferences that qualify them to be considered, part of a moral code.
Understanding the idea of what a reduction.
No. Answer my question. No. If you're not going to answer my question, then don't fucking interrupt.
You're fundamentally understanding what a reduction would mean.
I understand. I can explain. Do you want me to explain?
You're babbling, sir.
There doesn't need.
You're going to say, listen, Tasteless, you don't understand that. Whenever you're talking about morality, you can without that into preferences, right? And I would say, yeah, I understand what he's saying. I understand that. He's just saying that people make certain decisions based on their preferences, and they will see that this is something wrong if it complies with the preference. Not to someone to get murdered, it is a preference after all. So I understand that, Koi. That is not the question.
Okay, can I say the whole point of a reduction is that there wouldn't need to be a difference in properties between the thing and that which
that's what you're wrong. That's what you're wrong. That's stupid.
That's exactly what a reduction.
Listen. That is retarded.
Can someone tell me that I'm wrong? Can anyone tell me?
You start. Listen, Koi. You're starting with morality as the basis for it, and then you're reducting, right? But you can work the other way around. You can say, "Oh, yes, you can." Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because there is something to it. There is something to these preferences that qualify. Listen, that qualify. Don't fucking overtalk me, Koi. That qualify them to be part of a moral code, which is the preference.
If X reduces to Y, there is no property in X that isn't present in Y. Like it's the same fucking thing. You wouldn't expect.
Yeah, you're not understanding.
No. You wouldn't expect an extra property in the thing that's being reduced. That's why what you're asking is incoherent.
Yeah, of course. Koi,
why are you asking?
Problem applies with sugar. So
why are you asking for an extra property?
So sugar, man. Whenever you're talking. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna answer the question. So sugar.
No, you're not though. That's the thing. You're just never gonna answer it,
dude. Okay, so you are over talking me. You are not allowing me to answer you gracefully. So I want to answer you, and you're interrupting.
But graceful.
I'm sorry, man. You're a terrible interlocutor. Now, you bought all the time Tomer needed for him to answer that question. So Tomer, could you care to answer that question, please?
No.
If there was an extra property, then it wouldn't be reducible, right?
I'm sorry, man. Get wrecked.
Tasteless, if there was an extra property, it wouldn't be reducible, right? That's the whole point of reductionism.
Reductionism?
I think Koi is doing a fine job, Tasteless.
Yeah, of course.
So if there's something unique to morals, right, that wasn't unique to preferences, then it wouldn't be reducible, right? So the idea, what Tomer's saying is that we can take all moral statements. Whenever anyone expresses anything moral, right, there's nothing different between that and stating a preference, right? There's no difference. There's no extra property that's being assigned to moral statements that isn't also inherent to preferential statements, right? So the question that you're asking about this extra property that exists between moral statements and non-moral statements is incoherent.
Oh, really?
Right?
So let's take an example, for instance. Whenever you say, "Hey, man, a table," right? I'm going to reduce the table, and you can reduce the table.
Why does not? How is this not just?
So you would say, "I'm sorry, don't interrupt me, man. Don't interrupt me, man." So you have a table, right? You have a surface, and you have support under it, and you can make the reduction you need and say, "Hey, man, these are our parts. These are parts, just simple parts." Or you can reduct it to matter, right? That's fine. You can do that. You can say that basically a table is matter. Yeah, of course. You are correct, Koi. You can say that. I mean, basically, a table is matter. So you would say, "Hey, okay. Yeah, I agree with that, man. I mean, yeah, a table is matter. Oh, you're correct. But not all matter is a table." Yeah, I understand, right? So in order for us to know, when some matter is considered to be part, susceptible to be considered to be part of the table, you're saying, no, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. And I'm saying, no, you can. Yeah, no, you can. It is the reduction, and you're making stupid claims. But yeah, man, I mean, we could, if you understand that when matter, takes a certain form, certain properties, that let's say you have a base, right, or legs that are able to support a certain weight, then that would be subject, or even a part to be considered within a table, for it to form a table. However, you wouldn't take water, as that, because it doesn't have the properties. So we're able to define what the properties of the parts of a fucking chair or a table need for them to be considered a table. Do you understand?
The problem with this is
so simple, right?
It's questionable.
If you don't get this, you must be fucking retarded.
It's questionable as to the example that you're giving is analogous, right? Because there are a number of other factors that you're introducing that might make it not analogous. For instance,
really?
Such as the fact that we're conscious creatures contemplating chairs as a concept that might add to it a property that doesn't actually exist, right?
What?
There's a concept of a chair, right, that us as conscious creatures would ascribe to whatever it is, the formation of like atoms and energies that make up that thing. Is there anything fundamentally different between a chair and the constituents of that chair? No.
Whoa, well, that's great, because whenever you grant that you're talking about morality, and you're saying no, there's no goal to it, because this was Tomer's position, and it is your position. But yeah, there is a goal to morality. Now he's saying no, there's no goal because they are just preferences. Preferences don't have goals. Oh, this is so fucking matter doesn't have a goal. Yeah, I understand. But whenever you are trying to define a table which has a goal to it, and you're trying to reduce it to matter and say matter doesn't have any purpose,
I'll say this:
you're making a flawed. You're making a flawed example. You are misinterpreting what things are. Now, either he's going to hold on to the idea that morality is basically form of parts, and then you're going to say that parts are morality, or he's going to have to make a distinction between the parts that are needed to form a table which has a goal. Okay? So
how does a chair have a fucking
goal? I want to know his goal, or I want to know the properties, of the values that he will take under his fucking moral code. Yes, and that's all.
I think you're making some kind of mereological fallacy. What are you saying?
You're just retarded.
Can you just shut the fuck up for 2 seconds, please?
No,
no, you can't. Right?
That's great.
It could be the case, Tasteless, that within
master.
Within morality, once you establish morality, within morality, you can have goals such as to be a good person or not be a whatever the goal
I wonder why it is that I always start conversations with Tomer, and then I finish talking to everyone but Tomer, man. This is so absurd. Whenever Tomer gets scared, he fucking retracts and hides behind his fucking peers that need to fucking white knight for him, right?
How many people in this room?
And I'm sorry, you are now talking a different conversation.
How many people
because you successfully saved Tomer's ass. That's what happened.
How many people are in this room?
Congratulations.
Tasteless, how many people are in this room right now listening to this conversation? How many? What do you think? 10? 15 maybe?
They were listening to the music, man.
Okay, fine. Let's assume they're not listening to the music. So everyone has an option to weigh in on this conversation. Would you not agree, or is there some like?
I'm sorry. Whenever you steal the conversation and you are talking for the person making the claim, which is his worldview, and you try to talk and say, no, Tomer thinks this, man. This is what he thinks, right? And you repeat exactly what I know, and you're not able to respond to my fucking answer, and you start to red herring.
What is knowledge?
What the fuck?
He's expressing a concept that many people have a hold of. So anyone can explain that concept to you, right? It doesn't matter whether it's me, Homer, or the next guy. I don't understand why it would matter who's explaining the concept.
There's not. Tom doesn't hold a controversial position on morality. I mean, I think many of us here share that. There is no fact of the matter when it comes to morals.
Indeed, indeed, right?
La 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 la.
So why? So this has come down to your inability to comprehend reductionism, right?
No, this is your inability to understand what the fuck I'm saying, boy. And it is not in virtue of me not being clear. It is in virtue of you not having the fucking
What is understanding?
And the capability and the brain, fucking, you know.
You just don't understand concepts.
To understand the simple things, Corey.
Debate them. No, you just don't understand basic concepts.
I'm sorry, man. You are just trust me, Corey. You are on a basic level. You are unable to assess these things.
He just called
trust me, dude. I
like you a lot.
You have not even responded my fucking question.
I'm gonna sing your praises for a second, all right? I like you a lot. I kind of love you a little bit. You're cool. You're a cool dude, but you're kind of a fucking idiot. Like, and so like you should just listen to people when they try to explain things to you because you could learn a lot. But
sure. Especially when I ask questions that I don't get answers for.
Listen and believe. Take it from me, Tasteless. That is exactly right.
Tasteless, listen and believe. Especially to your betters.
It's like free education from like people that know way more than you. And you don't take advantage of it at all. That makes you an idiot.
Yeah, but Coy, you're a Jew. So.
I'm not a Jew. I'm an atheist. I'm a fucking sad, pathetic atheist.
That's exactly what a Jew would say.
Yeah, what's the difference?
I don't know. And I'm drunk, Tasteless.
So in summation, Tasteless is garbage. Thank you.
Silence is correct here.
Hold on, real quick. I think there's like a 9-year-old in here with us.
Let's play Who's the 9-year-old?
Who's the 9-year-old?
Well, come on, Tasteless is dumb, but he's not a 9-year-old.
Yeah, let's not insult the 9-year-old.
Van is correct.
Good one, Seth.
Van is correct here.
That was Seth.
Oh, well, both of you are correct.
I get really tired of being called correct all the time.
No, he's using a voice changer. Aren't you, Trump? Shit.
I hear you typing, dude.
By the way, I'm 12. I'm not 9. What do you mean?
Alright. Later, pal.
Not much of a difference.
Holy shit.
Well, that was fast.
I love how Tasteless tried to save him.
Tasteless said that when people say that such and such is moral, they're really saying they're expressing their preferences. However, when people are say I prefer this, they don't mean to say this is moral or immoral.
I see.
What? I said that. What? I said that.
The way that goes is morals are preferences, but not all preferences are morals.
Yes, dude. Fuck.
That's also said.
You understand the idea of like something being a subset of something else, Tasteless?
Oh yeah, of course. Now let me ask you something then. Okay, so let me see if I got this correctly, right? You're saying that every moral claim is based on preferences, right? But not all preferences are moral claims, right?
There you go. There you go.
Nice. Now let me ask you something. Whenever you have this, set of preferences, right? They must share, surely, some common property that they qualify as moral.
Yeah, they're preferences. That's the common property, right?
Oh, they're just preferences? They don't have any. No, quick.
How is that
Whoa. Coy, I'll answer the question. Tasteless, I'll answer the question, right? All moral beliefs are going to be preferences, right? But they're going to be preferences. They're going to be preferences of a certain type towards how people ought.
Great. So
that's what you're asking.
Great.
Right?
No. Great. Silent. You gave the answer. So this preferences, right? They're not just preferences. They have listen.
These
another property that qualifies them as moral preferences, right? Now, Silent was correct here.
I'm always correct. What do you mean?
When he said, Silent, could you read?
Yeah, but the prescription of
whoa, Tomer, let him speak. I mean, Silent, could you repeat that again, please, Mike?
I don't know how this strengthens your point at all.
Go ahead.
But sure, right? All of our moral claims are going to be based on preferences, right? But moral oughts are like all preferences about morality are going to be what we refer to as moral oughts.
Great. So would you say, Tomer, would you agree with Silent this one or not?
I think he's saying the same thing. So
you agree, right? So there is this property that calls the preferences.
No, you don't understand what I just said, right?
Now that property is that you ought, right? That
but that's a preference.
You ought not to do.
That's a preference.
Yeah. It is a preference, of course, but it has this, additional property that qualifies that preference.
No, it's just no. It's not about the quality. It's about the form.
Those preferences from the rest of preferences.
Tasteless. Right? It's not about the quality. It's about the form, right?
What do you mean?
Like I prefer vanilla over chocolate ice cream, right? As a random example. That's not a moral claim, right? But if I prescribed, I said you ought eat vanilla ice cream over chocolate ice cream because X,
because
right?
X, right? Exactly.
That should, hold on, Tasteless. That should, right? That prescription, right? The form is what makes a regular preference a moral ought.
I agree, Sam. So let me get this straight. Okay, maybe. Okay, we're getting there. This is interesting. So whenever you're saying, that the preference will form part of the moral code, it is because of a prescription that you're arbitrarily making, right? For it to be qualified within your moral code, yes?
No, that's not.
There's nothing about that says arbitrary.
That is exactly what he's saying. So whenever you say, for instance, if you have a reason to say, hey man, you ought to do, you have to do, you ought to eat chocolate, it is because of a reason, right?
Not necessarily.
What do you mean?
Well, I could just say you ought to eat chocolate, right? I could prescribe that to you, and then you could say why.
Yeah,
and you could just say something. I mean, you could say because I like chocolate. Therefore, because I like chocolate, you ought to eat chocolate, right? That's not meaningful.
There's a reason. No. You have a reason.
The reason,
the reason is that you would think that other people should act like you.
But
that is the reason. I mean, you might not want to accept it, but that is the reason, right? If you're going to make such prescription, there is a reason there.
You were bitching about that
earlier. You agree.
Tasteless, no, you've misunderstood, right? Because the reason it's just begging back to prep, right? If I just say
no, it doesn't matter if it's justified.
Hey, Tasteless,
there's a reason.
Can he be muted or something while I talk? This is ridiculous.
No, Silent, go ahead.
Do you need to be muted, or can you control yourself?
This is ridiculous.
We're making progress. Go ahead.
We are, but you're just over talking me.
Yeah, you're not helping though.
Yeah. So look, if I say you should eat chocolate because I prefer chocolate, and the should is a preference, right? Then the reason, quote unquote, is just begging the preference, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not meaningful. It is
acceptable.
Begging the question.
No. What do you mean? But it is acceptable to do this, right, Tomer, or not?
I never.
Silent. It is acceptable or not?
I don't think it's evil. No, it's just begging the question.
But but it doesn't matter. I mean, Tomer accepts that every claim is just based on preference, and it could be just begging the question and arbitrary. Yes or no?
Well, let's clarify every moral claim.
Yes,
no, right. A moral claim is not the preference. I like chocolate over vanilla is not the same thing as you ought eat chocolate rather than vanilla.
Of course,
right.
I
They're
understand
both
that.
preferences, but they're not a prescription and normative statement about the way people ought to act. It's not the same thing as just a statement of I like the way chocolate hits my fucking taste bud.
Yeah.
I think morality, like when people say this is wrong, I think it's just like a super deluxe way of saying that I don't prefer this, and it's in a way where they can't understand someone not having that same preference, right? So, for example, like you would have very different mental attitudes to like, okay, so let's say you like chocolate ice cream, right? And you don't prefer, and your friend doesn't prefer chocolate ice cream. He might say, wow, I don't like chocolate ice cream, right? But let's say that instead of chocolate, you pick like avocado and like anchovy flavored ice cream. And now your friend is going to feel so strongly against that in a way where he can't understand how someone could do that, right? That he's going to say something like, man, that's just wrong, right? But that's just a preference too, right? But that's just the same way that people use morality, is that they can't understand someone being okay with the rape of a child. They can't understand that someone like being okay with like really fucked up shit. So they express it in a super deluxe preference, which we call morality.
Yeah, like I think like a complicated way to say that would be like, I don't like, or like I think people ought not rape because I have an emotional, visceral reaction to it of disgust, right? Right? It's just like, I think it's what you're kind of referring to, Tom. Where the reasoning is just this like another preference of just like emotional response. Is that what you're trying to get at?
They have a preference that's so strong that they just can't identify with someone preferring that. If they have a preference for, you know, spaghetti and potato flavored ice cream, right? They just can't understand that preference, and they just feel so strongly against that preference that they just like would say something like, that's just wrong to prefer that ice cream, right? But a preference can't be wrong.
Silence your mic.
What is that? I don't even know what that is. Hold on.
Sounds like night bugs or what.
Yeah, let me see if I can figure out what the fuck that is. I've never heard that sound before in my house.
Yeah, okay, Tomer. So you are, you know, observing this thing from this perspective. That's fine. But I want to ask you. So you would say that, you know, what qualifies a preference to be part of a moral code is the prescription you're doing, you know, to that preference. Like you're saying you ought to do, you know, or you ought to eat, you know, chocolate fucking ice cream, right? Is that correct or not?
I don't know what you just said.
Huh, that sound stopped. Weird.
I don't believe in like, look, you say preferences ought to be part of a moral code. Look, I think they're synonymous, right? So when you ask me that question, you're just saying you think morals should just be, you just think preferences should be preferences, right, Tomer? Do you understand what you're saying?
Okay, we just discussed, Tomer, you know, all these things about some of the preferences being subjected to a moral code. And Silent was kind enough to, you know, to really express the difference there, that it is the prescription you're making about those preferences that makes them part of a moral code. Now, do you agree with that or not?
I don't know what that means. And look, if when I use the word moral, if I say something is immoral, I just mean that like that's mean to do to another person on a level that's not just like a trivial preference. I feel very strongly about it, and I think that other people ought not do it.
Yeah, so it was what Silent said, yes or no?
I don't know exactly if that was what Silent said, so I'll just
shit.
I'll just let what I said.
Listen, man, it is that you are accepting at some point, and then you go. Whenever I ask you about this, you go and say, "Look, man, let me fucking finish, please." Silent. So you're saying, okay, so Tom, would you agree that, you know, parts of a table that they serve, they have a, you know, they need to have a property for them to be considered? And you say, no, I mean, whenever you say table, all I mean is just matter, because it is matter, if, you know, ultimately. Yeah, Tomer, I understand, but we are making distinctions between what matter could be, you know, to be considered part of a table, or in what matter doesn't, right? And Silent provided the set of, you know, properties needed for them to be considered. And you're saying, no, but whenever you say table, I just mean matter. We cannot go anywhere from there. But you're holding two positions that are, you know, from the one hand, you recognize that there is the prescription part of it that makes it part of a code. But whenever I try to push you on it, you say, no, I just mean matter. Matter is synonymous with a table.
Well,
Okay.
Okay, so what's wrong with the description of calling it a set of preferences that most people normally call morals, but that you would just say are preferences with the added caveat of saying that you think other people should hold them in a certain, like hold them or like prefer them also. Like,
Because I want him to acknowledge that that there are some properties to some preferences that qualifies those to form part of his moral code. Okay, he doesn't want to do that. Whenever he says that, he says, no, they're just preferences. There is no fucking extra property there. They're just preferences. And all preferences, okay, but not all preferences. And this is circular. I mean, this is absurd.
No one's saying there can't be a difference within preferences, right? That distinguishes certain preferences from other preferences. What
hashtag not all preferences?
what Tasteless, correct me if I'm wrong. Where you're trying to get at is that there are certain types of preferences that we call moral statements that are so distinct.
That he.
Fine, that has a certain property such. I think what you're trying to say is that quality would be some normative statement, or like saying someone else ought to do something, and I prefer that, and that's what distinguishes moral preferences from other preferences, and that's the added property that makes it non-reducible.
Exactly. That's what Silent was saying, right?
So that's what you're trying to argue, right? Am I wrong?
Yes, I want him to acknowledge that there has to be an additional property to preferences. Yes, they're both preferences, of course.
So,
if you see this as a set, like you were saying, Koi, you can say all morality are preferences. Yes. You check the set of morals. Listen. You check the set of morals, and you can see that they are all preferences. I agree with that. I am granting that.
Okay,
but
so
you're saying, hey, there is another set of preferences that are not within the moral, the set of moral, moral preferences, right? So there has to be something within that set that distinguish these preferences that are in the set of moral preferences from the other one. Now, Silent said the only thing that distinguishes, these preferences is that this the prescription part of it. Yes, so there is an additional property to these preferences. Yes or no?
So there's okay. So couldn't you? But you could reformulate any preference to be prescriptive, right? If I say that I like ice cream, vanilla ice cream, I would say to myself, well, I ought to eat vanilla ice cream.
Right? I understand. I am granting that as well.
You're adding an added property about it.
Tasteless understands amazingly poorly.
So you seem to think that the added property is it being about someone else, right? Not about you, right? So you're saying someone else ought to do something, right? Ought not to murder, right?
No.
Well, then what's the distinguishing property in your eyes that makes certain preferences different from others, that makes them moral statements and not non-moral statements?
No. Listen, Koi, this is not me. I am trying to figure out in his worldview, because Koi, you have to understand.
Forget worldviews, dude. Just forget
you get worldviews. He is presenting his worldview. We're not talking about morality as a whole, and I'm not arguing for my worldview. I am asking about Tomer's worldview. Do you understand that? It is the way he sees things.
It doesn't matter whether it's Tomer's worldview or fucking Theo's or Kraken's or mine, right? You're looking for some kind of internal contradiction.
No,
in terms of what he's saying.
Well, listen, I am not, dude. Listen, all you have to do first is understand his worldview. I am trying to do that, right? But you seem so fucking, defensive that you I don't know what the fuck you're doing, Koi. All I'm trying to do is the following.
For like 12 hours.
Please. So what I'm saying is the following. There is a set of preferences. There is the whole set of preferences available, right? Now, Tomer is selecting just some, because you are the one saying that. Not all preferences are morality, but within morality, there are all preferences. I agree. I am saying that it is logical, logically a logical conclusion that this particular set of morals, even though they're preferences, they must have an additional property to them for them to be considered within a moral code. Yes, all I want to find out is, within his worldview, what is that additional property? I am not being argumentative, Corey. I genuinely want to know, according to his view. And whenever I said this, he responds with,
because he's saying there isn't an additional property.
They are just interchangeable.
He's saying there isn't an additional
and that
property.
Is circular.
No. You're saying there is, and he's saying there isn't, right? So now you're trying.
So if there isn't, every fucking preference must be necessarily morality. Every fucking preference.
We already went over this, right? It's not bi-directional.
I am done, Corey.
It's not bi-directional. It doesn't follow that if moral statements are reducible to preferential statements, that preferential statements are reducible to moral statements, right? That's not what he's saying.
Okay, Corey, if you don't understand what I said, and the logical entailment of it, I'm sorry, man. I mean, there is nothing that we are going to be able to discuss.
Hey guys, I'm back in for the night. What's going on? Is Tasteless saying something stupid?
That's just every night.
Yeah. Did you hear Tasteless talking, Seth?
Yeah. Exactly.
All I want to hear is your voice, Tomer.
Why is that?
It was the 12-year-old back.
I don't know, because I think you're funny. That's why everything you say is hilarious.
You're funny.
You guys don't think
Tomer. Sailor,
what?
Send nudes?
Don't have any, man. Sorry.
That's not what I hear.
Oh, I don't know what they're talking about.
I hear half the internet has them.
Dude, I don't care because they're not me.
All right, whatever. It's whatever.
I mean, if you want a webcam, I'll webcam with you, but they're not me.
Anyways, Tasteless, we done? Thanks, bud. All right, next time, bud.